Welcome to Unscripted, a podcast with no script by design. We're not following a plan, and that's exactly the point. This show is about whatever's on the minds of your hosts, Larry Lannan and Duncan Giles. We'll dig into what's happening in the world, and just as importantly, what isn't making headlines this week. So with that, let's get started. The conversation could go anywhere because we go wherever the microphones take us. Here's Larry Lannan and Duncan Giles. I'm Lannan, he's Giles, and this is Lannan and Giles Unscripted. It is our August 15th episode. So Duncan Giles, welcome back.
Thanks, Larry. It's always good to be here.
Well, it's all my fault. We didn't have one last week. I went visited some family in St. Louis, went to my grandson's 5th birthday in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, saw my other grandchild there, my daughter's family. So it's been kind of a family get-together time to get away a little bit. So
yeah, for an older retired guy, you get around.
I do get around way too much. Every now and then, Duncan, I just think, maybe I should take a day and just be retired.
I take a lot of those, and I highly recommend it. I'm not as seasoned a retiree as you are, but I highly recommend that.
Well, I think that, how should I put this? My experience with retirement is this. You start off retirement where you just kind of just exhale because when you're working, and particularly you and I, when you're working in the federal government, every day's got unexpected things coming at you. And the idea that you can get up in the morning and not have everything coming at you, or even if it's a short vacation, it's going to come to you when you get back to work. It's whether you're a union president, a manager, or doing various other things we've done in our careers. I think the idea that you can just exhale and just say, I'm going to do something today, but it's going to be something that I want to do. But I think the other thing is you find that if you don't have a little structure in your life, even in retirement, things kind of go awry. So,
yeah, that's one of the things that that my awesome wife Kim has told me is like, I've got to be doing something. I can't just lay around, and do absolutely nothing. So I've got to figure out, doing something. And I've got a couple of things in the works, and we'll see. By the way, I did want to mention, for those of you who were viewing our last podcast and noticed I was a trifle frustrated at the end.
I was going to mention that. Thank you for doing that, because you were silenced and I didn't do that.
No, you absolutely did not do that. This comes from Duncan thinking, hey, these wireless microphones are great. They'll go forever. No, as the instructions say, they're only good for a few hours, then you need to charge them. My microphone, this one has been fully recharged, so hopefully we will not have a repeat of that again.
Well, see, we had a guest that time, so he and I just talked, and I didn't even know until I saw the video later that you were trying to talk and couldn't get through. But yeah. We were not trying to silence you, Duncan. That would be the last thing in the world we would ever want to do.
Well, that'd be the prudent thing to do, but it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, Tony was just awesome, and I am so glad that he is enjoying his retirement, taking it a little bit easier, but doing some things like we were talking about in retirement. He's got things that he's doing, and that he's enjoying himself. And he wasn't just a great leader for NTU, but he's a great, great guy, terrific family man, things of that nature. I can't say enough about Tony.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I've known him since he was on the staff at NTEU before you were even working for IRS. He and I had some conversations and always enjoyed dealing with him. And I'm just sorry he never got a chance to do sports play-by-play. I think he wanted to do that, but life takes you in different directions. By the way, you mentioned your wife, Kim. I do want to say this. Congratulations to you and your wife, Kim. You've just celebrated an anniversary. Every anniversary is special, and I know you're a special couple, so congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Kim is, I cannot say enough about my wife. She's absolutely awesome. I mean, first off, she picked me and she puts up with me. So, they're right there. She deserves a medal for that. But yeah, we found each other late in life. I had some previous relationships. Um, she is just absolutely awesome and is my calm to my storm because, as you know, I can tend to be a bull in a china shop. And yeah, I know it's surprising, it's shocking. For those of you who can't see, Larry gave me a little bit of an eye roll and a head shake, which is absolutely deserved.
We've known each other way too long, Duncan.
Yeah, exactly. But no, she is just great. Really cares about her family, her friends. I mean, we do stuff for our neighbors who are elderly. Quite often, take them meals or get them fast food, things of that nature, and that's her. That's because of her. She treats my daughter Madison and her husband Travis just like family. I mean, she is just awesome. So I appreciate the congratulations, and it's all due to her.
Well, and I do have to say that my wife deserves an even bigger award because she has put up with me for 34 years. And
That is, yeah, she deserves a medal.
Medal of
No,
Honor.
your wife Jane is absolutely great too. She's, we had dinner. Folks won't know, but we had dinner almost 2 weeks ago because you guys were nice enough to say, hey, we want to celebrate your retirement, which we greatly appreciated. But it's always a good time with you. It's always a great time with Jane. She is such a good lady, and not only puts up with my malarkey, but always constantly puts up with yours. And so I think, yeah, she absolutely deserves a distinguished service medal for that.
By the way, Duncan, this is another anniversary, and I believe it is today, the day we're recording this. It's the 90th anniversary of Social Security, which you and I certainly hold near and dear to our heart when we get those checks every month.
Yeah, I haven't started getting my checks, and
Sorry.
hopefully that'll start in a couple of months. But the way I arranged it, but yeah, it's something that is a bulwark of America now and has been for a few generations. And we just hope you and I, are being old political savvy hands reading the tea leaves and things of that nature. You hope that they would figure out a way to make it more solvent because it could be running out of money as of 2034. So do they need to reduce benefits? Good luck on that one. That's like touching the third rail of a railroad track. Or do they need to raise taxes on it, or what do they need to do to shore this up?
By the way, before we move on, I just want to remind people, if you like this podcast, just like us if you're watching on video, like us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you like us, send links out, make comments. Same thing on audio podcasts. You can subscribe there as well to Podcast by Larry Lannan. You'll get my other podcasts as well, but this is part of my podcast series there. Now, Duncan, I do believe sometimes in updating things we've talked about before. Do you remember the Pizza Moon controversy?
Yes, where they did not want to let anybody take it. Yep.
This is Epic Universe, this new theme park, the first new theme park in Orlando for like 20, 30 years. It's been a while since a new park. I think the last one was the Animal Kingdom at Disney. But they've got several nice new restaurants at Epic Universe. This is part of the Universal Studios, the Universal Complex there in Orlando. And one of the restaurants is Pizza Moon. It gets great reviews from pizza lovers. It's great pizza, I am told. Well, they had a big controversy because they stopped the policy of boxing the unused pizza. If you couldn't eat all the pizza, you just had to leave it there. I'm sure, Duncan, it's only because you and I mentioned this on our podcast, but Pizza Moon has changed their policy. In fact, they did it in late June, I just found out. And that was shortly after you and I talked about it. So I'm sure we had the catalyst
Absolutely, no doubt.
to get the Pizza Moon in Orlando to change their policy and provide pizza justice for the people of Orlando.
Exactly. And, the thing was, what was the thinking behind that? Okay, we don't want to pay for boxes. because I'm sure, being on Disney, that they don't have a profit margin at
Well,
all on their food.
Universal, not Disney. Universal. They'll
Yeah,
correct you real quickly on that.
Universal, excuse me. Yes. Universal is not making a profit, and so they couldn't afford boxes to go for pizza. Um, so yeah, I'm that one astounded us both when you had that story. It's like, what is the matter with you? Because there are very few people that'll sit there and say, okay, go ahead, we can split this pizza and we'll eat it all. No, most of the time there's a little bit left, especially if you're on vacation. You may want to take that back to the hotel room, heat it up the next day, things of that nature. So saying, no, we're not going to have that is a little bit nuts.
Now, do you also remember the story that I mentioned a while back? The lady who set the record for jigsaw puzzle collection?
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I got a new one. You're going to love this one.
Hopefully they have a better life. Yeah.
Well, this one is, I think she's right in the same category as the other lady. This lady's in North Carolina, and she set a new record for Coca-Cola memorabilia. Now, I don't know about you, but my wife Jane, we mentioned her before. If we go to a restaurant and she wants to have a cola drink and they say we only have Pepsi, she gives a very stern look to the server, like, "What? No Coke products?" I'm not that way, but she is very much a Coke product. The Coke
Yeah,
did
because it's the server's fault.
yeah, well, she didn't know. She's not blaming the server. She's blaming the restaurant. But she made sure that the restaurant got the message. But no, and we did not get paid for this. This is my wife's view on Coke. But this lady, I think, is a bigger Coca-Cola fan than my wife. Her name is Linda Endicott from North Carolina. She first got this award from, and again, it's the Guinness World Book that provided this in 2020. She had already amassed 2,028 items of Coca-Cola memorabilia. Well, then, lo and behold, in 2023, she lost that to a man named Jeffrey Falk Jr. He had over 5,200 memorabilia.
Wow.
But not to be undone, Miss Endicott has now got 5,623 items. So she now holds the World Book record from Guinness. We'll see if Mr. Falk decides to up the ante and go over 6,000. Where do you?
Yeah, basically that sounds like she, read something from Guinness, heard she wasn't doing it, and literally said, "Hold my beer" or "Hold my Coke," as it were.
Oh my God! And where do
And
you
watch
put this?
this.
Where do you put this stuff, Duncan? Do you?
Yeah, that's the thing. You just never know. I do know that there are Coca-Cola memorabilia. There are an awful lot of people who love collecting that stuff. I've seen it on thermostats and everything else. They absolutely love everything Coca-Cola, and I'm sure Coke is happy with the free advertising that we're giving them. But it's some people with memorabilia, when you get to that much, it's like you said, where do you put all this? Do you have a storage barn or something that you can put it in?
Yeah, and it's Guinness gets the most out of this. As you mentioned last time we talked about the World Book. I mean, Guinness started this many years ago to promote their beer, and it's been up and down in popularity, but it's been around for many decades and has been their big one of their big marketing. How should I put it? Great ideas that some marketing person came up with, and it's still around. So anyway, 5,623 Coca-Cola memorabilia items. That's the record. So Duncan, do you think you might want to start collecting yourself?
I'll pass on that. Um, no, I've got a probably pretty interesting hockey puck collection from
We've
the
talked about that
WHA,
before.
the World Hockey
Yeah,
Association.
we've talked about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's about as far as it goes. And if there are any other pucks from the World Hockey Association, they got to be pretty old because that's not been around for about I don't know, 45 years or so.
Well, but, WHA has several claims to fame. It was the Indianapolis Racers had their team. Wayne Gretzky got his first contract with the Racers and sold it, as you quite eloquently mentioned before, in a very bad deal. And of course, it was best known when Gordie Howe was getting near retirement. He wanted to play with his sons, and the NHL wouldn't let him do it. So he ended up playing for the Houston team, which would allow him to play with his sons. So that's how Gordie Howe, probably the best hockey player in the history of the game, ended up playing his last several seasons in the World Hockey Association because they let him play with his son Mark and I think one other son. So
Mark and Marty.
Mark and Marty, thank you. Forgot the other one. So, it's interesting how things come together late in one's career. And that's why if the WHA hadn't had Gordie Howe, I don't think they ever would have gotten off the ground.
Yeah. And, well, actually, their first big signing that really put them on the map was Bobby Hull. When the Winnipeg Jets signed Bobby Hull, because Gordie came after that. Gordie had been retired and then came out of retirement to play, but Bobby Hull was basically still playing fairly well, a little bit older. But when he signed, that was the big thing that gave the WHA credibility.
And Hull would tell you, Hull was interviewed several times and people tried to call him the best in the game. And Hull would say to anybody who would bring that issue up, because I was a good player and I'm proud of it, but I could never play as well as Gordie Howe. Gordie Howe was the best.
Yeah, up to that point, Gordie Howe was just a great all-around player. Not only was he a great scorer, but the dude was tough. He could be an enforcer if he needed to, check into the boards. Bobby Hull, great guy. My favorite Bobby Hull story from working with the Racers was I was visiting Team Stick Boy, and this was back again in the mid to late 70s. So sports science really wasn't as good as it is now. One of the things that I would start doing after talking to the players is I brought in a coffee pot and I brought in small snack bags of candy because they wanted the sugar. They wanted the sugar rush. And I came into the locker room one time. They didn't know I was there. The players were talking, and Bobby Hull was talking. And he was quite forcefully telling his teammates that, this guy in Indianapolis, this kid in Indianapolis, Duncan, is bringing this stuff into us. They'd better tip me. I mean, he made it a point. He didn't know I was there. He didn't know I was hearing it. But that's just the type of guy that Bobby was.
No, I got to stop you right there. So you're telling me if you're the ball boy or stick boy for a professional team and for this visiting team above all, the players are expected to tip you?
It's more prevalent now than it was then. Then it really wasn't because you were just doing your job. But no, now that there are clubhouse guys in the major leagues get tipped pretty well. I mean, heck, some of them, if they're on the right team, get World Series shares. It depends on what you're doing. If you're going over and above doing things. When I worked for the Pacers and I started out doing the visiting team locker room, okay, run these tickets up to will call for this particular person. And, so you don't wait on the elevators. You run up 3 flights of stairs, which I could do fairly easily back then. Yeah. And so, they may tip you a few bucks, things of that nature. But yeah, it was unusual back then, but just the way that Bobby enforced that, I was very grateful to.
You talk about sports. I saw something that I thought you may really enjoy this. This just happened the other day. The NFL is starting their preseason, and a lot of the times the local teams and TV stations will produce the exhibition or preseason games that are shown locally. I mean, the networks do the regular season and postseason, but some of those have better production values than others. I say this because, excuse me, there was an Atlanta Falcons game, a live broadcast, and you have what are called graphics. It will show the name of the player on the bottom of the screen sometimes when you're watching a game. Well, Atlanta Falcons, they have a quarterback named Michael Penix Jr. In fact, he played for Indiana University for a while, but then he went on to play for another college before he went to the NFL. I could tell when he played for IU, he was going to be going to the NFL. He was that good. But sometimes people misspell names. And instead of Michael Penix, Penix, whoever wrote it.
Tell me they put an S on it.
You know what this is. It was Michael Penis Jr. So he made one little mistake on one little letter that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, you hit the wrong thing on a keyboard, and God knows, I thank God for spell check because I can't spell cat unless even if you spot me the C and the T. So something went wrong. It must have said, no, that can't possibly be Penix. That doesn't sound right. Let's put an S there, and the person didn't notice it.
Yeah, somebody, the director, hopefully picked up on that. But I guess somebody did this is the technological age where people get screenshots and it just goes forever. It goes on a viral life of its own when something like that.
Yeah, and again, those exhibition games can be interesting, like our Indianapolis Colts right now, trying to figure out who's going to be their starting quarterback. I think we're going to have a really good defense, and we're going to need it because I don't think that Jonathan Taylor's a great running back, but I don't think you can run him 40 times a game. They may start to figure that out.
Well, in the NFL, the quarterback is just so important. And if you don't have a quarterback that at least, how should I put this? The most important thing a quarterback can do is minimize the turnovers and the errors in the
Yep.
game. Anthony Richardson is not his third year. He was a rookie, and he's been hurt a lot. And so what happens in the first preseason games? He misses he misses something. I thought at first somebody had missed a block, but no, he didn't pick up. It turns out later on that it was the quarterback's fault. He didn't pick up something that was going on in the field. Somebody came in unblocked. He should have just dumped the ball off to a
hot read. Yep.
Which is what he was told to do. He didn't do it, end up injuring his finger, which can be a bad injury for a quarterback on either hand, really. Messes up your just everything else that you do. So I think that, it's interesting because we now have what supposedly a quarterback contest between Daniel Jones, who's been a starter in the past, but has been a backup in recent years. And then we've got the Richardson, who's the third-year quarterback, who was. And the other thing is, when you talk about sports, and it's really almost anything. When you bring somebody in and experience, you really have to kind of give them the backup they need. I mean, Anthony Richardson, just one of these incredibly talented athletes. My gosh, he's just tremendously talented. But he only played 1 year of college football. It was at a high level. It was at Florida. But yet he comes in the NFL with that 1 year of quarterbacking experience in college. And, he really has not adapted well to the pro game. So this may be a key year. He needs to keep himself healthy, and he needs to learn more about the game. So we'll know a lot about that. But the Colts, our hometown team, has a great defense. I think our offensive line is also in good shape. We have a lot of the other positions. I think the pieces are there. Right now, it's that quarterback position that seems to be the question mark, and I guess we'll see what goes.
Yeah, and I wish they are the best, but he has got to learn. If he can't learn two things: one, hit the touch and medium passes. He's great at throwing the long ball because he's an incredible athlete, but he's got to have those softer skills, so to speak. He's got to be able to read the defense. He's got to be able to hit over the middle, and he's got to be able to take it. I sat there when he dislocated his finger, and I was like, okay, in an exhibition game, totally get taking him out, keeping him out. But if this were a regular season game, would he have stayed out the rest of the game? And I'm thinking back, being a student of NFL history, it's like, these guys, some of these guys played with, broken fingers or broken parts. There was one linebacker who played, most of a game on a broken leg back then. You don't want to do that, but it's like, okay, how much can you overcome to move forward? And that's going to be a big thing with AR, I think.
Well, should athletes be playing with broken legs? I mean, in the old days, they did that. Should that happen today?
No, sure. I would say no, but I mean, I just give it an example of the difference in toughness and things of that nature. And I learned sports medicine under one of the best and former Pacers trainer, David Craig, one of the best and most knowledgeable, still is. And, it's come a long way since then. But you want to make sure that, you've got this fantastic athlete. You drafted him on the intangibles and on his upside. Like you said, you've got to give him the support, but he's got to stay healthy. He's got to figure out a way to do that. And part of that's going to be reading those defenses so he can tell where the blitz is coming from and dump the ball off.
Well, I'm going to, we had in my city of Fishers, and we've talked about this. I write a local news blog in an Indianapolis suburb called Fishers. It's just, people find local news hard to come by. So I just started writing this news blog 13 years ago when I retired and have continued to do it. Tried to quit a couple of times and nobody would let me. So I'm still doing this. But we now have in Fishers, because we have a brand new arena, we have an indoor football league team, which is indoor football. I knew little to nothing about it. I knew that there had been an arena league, which went bankrupt and comes back, and there are a couple of smaller indoor leagues. I didn't know much about it. It's a 50-yard field. You play indoors. The rules are a little bit different to account for that. So I started covering the indoor football league team, and I have to tell you, I love this game. It is so much fun to watch. In that league, again, if a 10-yard penalty on a 50-yard field is
Yeah.
a big setback, let me tell
Yep.
you. And because teams tend to score every time they get the ball. If you do turn the ball over, or if you don't, and there's a lot of fourth down plays in this league more so than in the outdoor game. If you can't convert those fourth downs, you're going to lose the game. But it's just a completely different game from a strategy point of view. And I've gotten to know our coach. His name is Dixie Wooten, and he's won championships in this league. The Indoor Football League's been around since about 2007, 2009. It's sort of merged two or three leagues that had been together, and they've been able to stay in business all this time, which in itself is something.
Yeah.
I got to interview the commissioner of the Indoor Football League. His name was Todd Tryon, and complimented him in being in business all this time. And he looked at me and said, "Well, don't give us too much credit. 2017, we nearly went bankrupt ourselves. We were down to 6 teams." And he said the key was getting good ownership, and that's the key. I think in any new sport or fringe sport that's not in the major league area. But it's a lot of fun to watch this game, just the way they play the game. I won't go into detail about it, but I just thought I'd tell you, if you got an indoor football league team wherever you live, it's a summer league. They're getting their championship game this coming Saturday, I think, for the whole season, and they'll start up again in late April, not long after the NFL ends. So if you enjoy football, if you've got an indoor football league team nearby, I would say take the game in.
Yeah, I've heard it's very, very interesting and very good. And I do want to take a moment just to give you some kudos. When you started out your Larry and Fishers, you said, okay, there's not much going on. They're not reporting on, not much reporting going on. Let's see what I can do to improve that. And you literally are the voice of your community. You're the one who covers things like school board meetings, does interviews with different candidates so people can get information. And I think you just do an awesome job in informing the people of your community what's happening, what's going on, what are the potential things coming down the road, interviews with everybody from the mayor on down. So I just want to give you kudos for all you've done for doing that, because I know it takes a tremendous amount of work.
Well, thank you. And the good thing is that I didn't know how I would be received. I mean, when I first started this, and we started off, we were a town. We didn't even have a mayor.
Right.
And the town council members brought me, they read what I was writing, and they started talking. I didn't know if I'd be accepted as a member of the media, so to speak. When we became a city after a referendum, the new mayor, it's the only mayor we've ever had, brought me in, started talking to me on a regular basis. We don't do it as much now because he's just too busy. But I was accepted as a reporter trying to do the job the right way. And if I had not been accepted and brought in, and people have to be willing to talk to you on and off the record to really understand what's going on. And the people in Fishers have done that, and I always appreciated that. Now, Duncan, I know that I want to just wrap things up this way. We try to make this unscripted as much as we can, but every now and then I like to do a top 5 list. Now, you have said you don't really think we should do top 5 lists, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a top 5 list, and if you think it was good, we might bring it back. But if it gets a thumbs down from you, we won't do it again. Fair?
Fair.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. There are many people in this nation who never, ever watch the news. at all. A lot of them are young people. I remember one time I was in a banking institution and talking to somebody about some business I was doing. And he asked what I was setting up. And I said, I was setting up a new local news blog. And he looked at me and goes, oh, the guy was 20 something, just had been out of college. He goes, oh yeah, most of the news I get is from TikTok. Oh dear. He gets his news from TikTok. Anyway, so because news is not always something people pay attention to, we noticed that there has been a trend lately where the National Guard comes in and starts patrolling the city as police. I don't know about you. I went to college with a lot of young guys. They were all guys at that time in the 70s who were in the National Guard. I mean, they do their work well, they're trained well, but Duncan, I don't think I'd want these guys being my police force. Okay,
Right.
let's put it that
Right.
way. And I think they would have said the same thing.
Yep.
So I would like to say, if you're somebody who doesn't watch the news in your city, the top 5 signs that the National Guard has now started patrolling your city. The number 5 sign that the Humvee in front of you at Starbucks at the drive-thru just ordered a venti triple shot latte with MRE creamer. Now, for those of you who don't know what an MRE is, that's meals ready to eat. It's a military thing. So if you didn't get it, sorry you didn't laugh. Number 4, your neighborhood block party gets shut down, but not before the guardsmen join the cornhole tournament. They would probably enjoy that, I would think. Number 3, traffic control now means that a camo-led sergeant directing rush hour traffic while he's eating his beef jerky. I think that would be a good indication you got a National Guardsman, not a regular cop. Number 2, the city's official lost and found now includes a Black Hawk helicopter keychain. And number 1 sign that the National Guard is actually patrolling your city as a police force, your morning jog is accompanied by a friendly wave from a soldier who definitely just outran you in full gear. Okay, so do I get a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Yeah.
I just got a thumbs
When we talk about unscripted, folks, this is truly unscripted.
No, it's not. It's scripted. He was going to do thumbs down. He doesn't like top 5, but we're not done with our top 5 list. I tried, and Duncan has decided that we need to agree on how to do these unscripted things. So this has to be totally unscripted.
Yeah, you folks are getting a live look at how the sausage is made, live on the podcast.
Okay.
These are part of our discussions.
Yeah, so and this is exactly what we talk when we're not even recording. So that's just no. I thought I would at least try it, and since that crashed and burned, we have decided not to do another top 5 list. I guess
we might. I mean, it can be an every once in a while thing. I think
we'll have to bring David Letterman on to do that. I think. Any final comment before we wrap this up?
No, I just want to say that whenever you can, I always encourage folks to recharge their batteries. Almost 2 weeks ago, ended up renting a boat on Lake Monroe. Wife, daughter, son-in-law, wife's best friend, and son-in-law's son, and we just had a great time out in the water. Just had a wonderful time. I know my wife. I haven't heard my wife laugh so much when she was just dipping her feet in the water as I was, moving the pontoon around slowly, safely. Thank you very much. That helped recharge batteries for all of us. And I think that's very important. So whatever you can do, the day can be a grind, the work can be a grind. So recharge your batteries however you can, whenever you can.
Yeah, and I think you and I, now that we're retired, it's a little bit different, but particularly when you're working, you've got the stress of work. No matter what your job is, there's always a stress level of whatever work you're doing. Even if you love your work, you're going to have some stress on the job. It's so important to get away from your work. It's so important to do something you love. And I think that's great advice. And even when you're retired, it's kind of nice to, do that as well. Duncan, thank you so much. This is Unscripted. We appreciate the fact that you have decided to join us today. Again, if you like what you've seen and or heard, let others know, spread the link around, and all goes well, we'll be back next week. We have one ask for you as the audience. Like and subscribe to this podcast. We appreciate it. Duncan and Larry will be back soon with another episode. In the meantime, this is Unscripted.